Hey guys, it's John, small town, small time bookseller here with another video. And I missed last week. Sorry about that, but I am back this week, so I'm going to be talking to you about what sold in September because that's what I do. I sell things on eBay and then I come here and tell you about them. So if you're in the mood for something along those lines, then you are in the right place. But if you're looking for other things, then I don't do those. I don't do garage sale videos. Don't do yard sale videos. I don't do, the GoPros at the good old bins that are looking at my hands, lying there on the floor with consciousness slowly coming back to me. And then I see you standing there looking at the gorilla. And as soon as I saw you looking at that gorilla, I knew you were going to have trouble. That's how it went. I knew it right then and there. But like I say, very few gorillas in this month's of sales. And we're going to be talking about September. So September 1st through the 30th. I'm going to do the whole month of sales here coming up. It was 99 sales in September, which is more than 3 a day, just barely more, but still more than 3 a day, which is really good for me. And my small town, small time kind of shop that I have. And so what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do the under 25 crowd as pretty quickly. Just kind of go through the pictures and I'll mention what each of those sales were. I had some pretty positive feedback about how the length of how long I was showing each item last time. So I'll try to do that as kind of the same way this time as well. And then we'll hit the 25 and over crowd with a little more in-depth for each one of those. So 99 sales was a good month. And I do have to mention one recent sale just because was it the last, might have been the last video of my thrift haul video where I had the giant cat painting by Antoinette Letterman. It's called Resting Cat. And that giant one is like 4 foot by 5 feet. And I was terrified about how I was going to have to ship that thing. Well, it all worked out beautifully. Somebody fairly local offered. So I had it listed for $800 and somebody offered me $650 but would pick it up. So I said, yes, thank you very much. So I ended up, the buyer actually lives out near Austin, which is about 3 hours away. She had some friends or relatives in Angleton, about 10 minutes away from here, and they actually came by, and their car was actually too small to get the painting in, and so I put it in my car and drove it to their house, which was about 15 minutes away. So it was no big deal, but I was really, really happy about that. So paid $120 for it, I think, sold it for $650, and didn't have to mess with shipping at all. So after taxes, after fees and all, I probably made about a, $500 profit on that or something. Let's see, 120, 620, I don't know, maybe a little bit less than that, but still very pleased about that. The same Goodwill where I bought that one had another Antoinette Letterman painting, same size, but this one that they had this time was not framed. It was just a canvas stretched over frame, but not with a, not a frame. And it had a pretty major scratch right towards the center, and it was parrots, and they wanted $50 for it, and I considered buying it, but with that scratch in the middle, none of the parrots have sold on eBay, even on Terapeak. So that's 3 years, and the ones that are listed though are listed for like $1,000 and another one for like $1,500. But like I say, nothing sold, didn't have the frame, and had a pretty major scratch on it. So if it's still, I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. Now that this one's sold, I don't know if I would go in and get it. Would you get that one? I mean, it's huge. The lists are so high that I don't think you'd want to buy one with a scratch in the middle of it. So I think I'm going to probably not pick that one up. One of the things that I really liked about this cat one that I bought is that it was in such good condition. And some that had sold online had some marks and had some dings in it. And this one really didn't. It was a little dusty is all. So anyhow, that's my big news. I'm very excited. I'm going to get my my weekly balance, my weekly check from eBay. It'll be approaching $1,000 this week, which has never happened before. Obviously, the $650 sale will boost that amount a lot, but it depends on how fast today's sales and all get processed to see if the check on Tuesday the deposit on Tuesday is $1,000 or not. But I'll be happy about that if it does end up. My 90-day total is still over 11,000 right now, about 11.5. And I forgot how many sales, but it was, I'll try to put that in there if I can. Oh, I can do a screenshot and add that in here for my 90-day total and my 90-day total for money and sales. So I'll show that right here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the sales. I didn't do any videos last week because I had a busy weekend, and it's going to be a busy weekend coming up as well. But I hopefully get back on track, so that I did miss last week. And so we're going to do these. All right, are you ready? Okay, so these are the under 25 crowd, and there's a lot of them. So I'm just going to go through them. I've kind of got them grouped by basically kind of in general categories, and that's how I've kind of been doing it. But so in September, I had 5 sales that were clothing. So I had this J. Garcia necktie. I don't think it's a Jerry Garcia, but it's J. Garcia necktie as New York at Night, sold for $14. Magellan Outdoor waterproof snake shield boots sold for $20. Those were youth size, a youth 4Ds. That's why they weren't that much. A Nightmare on Elm Street sweater sold for $20, just in time for Halloween. And Steely Dan t-shirt, Summer Tour of 2018 for $16. And some North Face gloves that sold for $12. And then I had a couple of cookbooks that sold. We had the Favorite Island Cookery, Book 2, these Hawaiian recipes for $22, and a 1945 copy of the Toll House, Tried and True Recipes for $10.80. Then we had some dishes sold, these 11-inch dinner plates, $15. I don't know if that was one of them, I can't remember now. And then 3 kind of just fiction books. Collected Works of Chesterton, sold for $12. Rocket Boys, first edition by Homer Hickam, sold for $15. And The Dog of the South, 1979, first edition, sold for $15. I had 4 hats sell. A Cellist Brewery in Austin, Texas hat. A Daikin baseball hat, sold for $12. The brewery was $16. A Georgia Tech Hornets hat sold for $15. And then we had a McNeese State University Cowboys hat sold for $12. I had this sale. I had a group of these little figurines for sale, but somebody messaged and said they only wanted one of them. So I made a special listing for just that person and the one item that they wanted, and sold out for $8. Some other ones I put into a hobby category. Halloween in America, Collector's Guide, sold for $20. These Jack Dempsey white quilt blocks sold for $5. The Chandler Family Heritage book sold for $20. And then I had 7 media sales. So we had Donna Summer CD for $10.80. A Pierre Moreland's Gong CD for $12. Jeff Beck CD sold for $9. John Coltrane double 2 CDs box set, I guess they call it $10. A DVD of Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected, set 1, sold for $15. This isn't media, this is actually a book. Best of REM, Guitar Tab Edition Songbook, sold for $20. And then a DVD, Quick to Sew Pants, for by Louise Cutting, sold for $10. And then I had, I had a viewer sale. I had a book on Handle. Thank you very much. Sold for $10. That's kind of fun to get a viewer sale. And then I had what I put in as 6 Nota books. This 1973 Roe versus Wade bracelet sold for $10. This little Kathy Cruz terry cloth doll sold for $10 as well. I'm going to have a few of these sales today. A Logitech pen sold for $20 for one of those pens. And then a lot of 35 mini football helmets from NFL and college sold for $20. This little bathtub, Camark, C-A-M-A-R-K, Camark vintage bathtub, sold for $10.30. And this wooden feather that was sculpted by Char Frazier. It's an eagle feather, sold for $20 as well. Then I put in a whole bunch of just what I said is nonfiction. A 1985 copy of Industrial Fluid Power, $15. African Cosmologies, I had that one for a long time. That one looked esoteric enough, like it was going to sell fast, and it took years. That sold for $18. Charles Gwathmey and Robert Siegel, Building and Projects, sold for $20. Crack the Core Exam, sold for $20. This little book I also had for several years, From the Block to the Bank by Ash Cash, sold for $5. The Habsburgs, Dynasty, Culture, and Politics, sold for $12. The Art of Mauna Kea, this was in a video pretty recently, sold for $13. The Battle of Beecher Island, sold for $15. They That Go Down to the Sea, Bicentennial Pictorial, sold for $20. Thus Spake the Real Zarathustra from 1996, sold for $10. And an old Scholastic book called TV Behind the Tube, sold for $9. Then we had some religious books, 4 religious books. We had a Holy Bible of Mormon Doctrine and Covenants, sold for $20. A Bible study book, 1-year study of the Bible, sold for $5. The Worship of the Church from 1952, sold for $17. The Thomas Nelson Study Bible, black bonded leather with CD, sold for $20. And then I had a bunch that I call just vintage, just older books and things. So this one is really old. This is 1852. Look at that. 1852 copy of A Woman's Journey Around the World, sold for $20. A 1970 copy of Capitalism and Freedom by Milton Friedman, $10. 1943 copy of Journey in the Dark, sold for $12. This Mexico Travelogue sold for $22.50. Actually had to refund this one because I didn't realize when I sold it, but a big chunk of the book was missing. And so the chunk of the book that the buyer actually wanted is the part that was missing. I felt terrible about that. Gave her full refund, but just so you know to look out for this one because it did sell for $22.50. And then these from 1950, 3 of these travel ship books. My Travel Ship, book for children. I had Japan, Holland, and France, sold for $24. A 1928 first edition, 3rd printing of Orlando by Virginia Woolf for $20. And 4 Scribner library paperbacks. They're Hemingway and Fitzgerald, sold for $13. Then we had a 1967 copy of The Philosophy of Sin for $15. And a 1949 copy of Treasure Island for $10. This Tulip Evermore for $7. And then an older book in Spanish, Juan Valletta, Pepita Jimenez. I can't remember which one was the author and which one was the title. 1908 for $12. The Vintage of the Greatest Thing in the World, sold for $10. And then a 1953 copy of Without Veils, sold for $8. All right. So that's everything that was under $25 it sold for the month. So now we're just going to hit the 25 and up. All right. The first one is something that I've sold recently. I mean, not recently in real time, but recently as far as videos go. And that's these Corde Avesta Prayers in Roman Script with English Translation, sold for $25 in 1975. So I've had several different versions of that Corde Avesta prayers that have sold. So vintage prayer books can do pretty well. And then a yearbook Camp Longhorn, 1964. It's over $25. And then a BTS Korean pop group. They put out these really cool kind of books. So they're packages. So you get them. They'll have a CD in there. They'll have a book in there. There'll be posters. There'll be photos. Just, you know, things that the fans want. A lot of the Korean pop bands put these out. And they're not always worth selling. It depends on the band. BTS is one that does sell. This one sold for $25, and it included the book, a CD, a sticker, a card, and posters. But I've also lotted a lot of those together from different bands that weren't really worth much. Put them in as a lot, and I auctioned them off and had sold them that way as well. So you just kind of with those, if you're not familiar with a lot of the Korean pop bands, which I'm not, just look them up to see which ones are worth selling on their own and which ones are maybe worth lotting up. And then we had, this was kind of cool. This was an ornament, Christmas ornament, made out of the ash from Mount St. Helens. And that sold for $25. And then another one of the pens. So I had one in the under 20 where I sold for $20. This one I sold for $25. I've got them listed at $25. I had somebody make an offer at $20, so I sold one. I got these boxes of these Logitech pens, brand new. I got 2 or 3 boxes. And they're been selling really well. So I have a really big sale of those, a whole group of them later on, but that's where I got those. Then we had a 1964 copy of History of Italy and the History of Florence, $27.50. A cookbook on chocolates and confections sold for $28. This was a one day at the Goodwill bins. There was a whole bunch of Native American stuff. Nothing real valuable, but this is one piece that was in there. I had it sitting on the shelf for a long time. Didn't list it. I just kind of liked it. And I just had to decide whether it's going to move out of this room and into the living room where I have a lot of my other Native American pottery and things that I've collected over the years, or if I was going to sell it. And I decided to go ahead and sell it, and it sold. But this was a storyteller doll with 4 children, sold for $30. A feather boa. I had a 48-inch and a 16-inch feather boa that sold for $30. These were on a recent video, if you remember. I sold both of the Boleslawiec Polish butter dishes. Sold for $30 each. And the 2 different buyers, so not the same sale. It was 2 different sales. Then I had a religious book, the book of Isaiah, chapters 1 through 39, sold for $30. Sold some glasses. These went overseas even, so I was super nervous about selling these, but I did have a foam container that like when medicine gets delivered and has to be refrigerated and comes packed in the styrofoam. And so I used one of those boxes. So it's a styrofoam case inside a cardboard box. And so I wrapped them really well inside there. They were tightly packed. And I wasn't too worried about it other than the fact that it was going overseas. So I didn't know how much damage or, tumbling around it would do. But they made it there. Or at least I never got any complaints or refund requests or anything. But there were these GH Mum champagne set of 6 of these, sold for $35. And then I had a Build-A-Bear Mayor plush from The Nightmare Before Christmas, sold for $35. And this one, I also just liked this little piece. This was a vintage folk art duck paperweight made from a golf club that somebody had made out of an old wooden golf club. And it's over $35. And I had it sitting over here for a long time. I just kind of liked it. I really didn't think there was a market for something like that. I didn't know how to list it. And I finally did a little research and found quite a few of them have sold. And guess it's just a folk art thing. And so that was kind of cool. But it sold for $35. Here's a 1955 book. Little Brown Bear Goes to School and Eats All the Children. No, Sold for 35 bucks for Little Brown Bear Goes to School. This was so Spanish books, Asesor en Estrategias de Inversión by Jose Luis Carrillo, sold for $35. So Spanish books sell, fiction, non-fiction. This is obviously some kind of a study guide type of thing. And it was 35 bucks. Here's one that I also had in a recent video, this Jurassic Park, this leather-bound copy. I found this one a couple times at the Goodwill bin, at the regular Goodwill. They had it priced normally because it doesn't have a barcode. And so they just put a fairly normal price. I think I probably paid $3 or $4 for it. But it sold for 36 bucks. Then we had a 1973 copy of The Miracle of Forgiveness, signed. It sold for $37.50. Then another signed book. This was signed by Oksana Bayul, the Olympic skater. And I thought this would be a faster sale. This sat for a couple years probably, but it finally did sell, and it for $38. Sold some more glasses. These are the Crescendo water goblets. Sold 4 of those for 40 bucks. And then a set of 7, I have 7 plus 1, sunflower dinner plates. These are Pier 1 sunflower dinner plates. I had 7 plus 1 because 7 of them were in good shape. And then I had like one extra one that had a pretty major crack. It wasn't coming apart, but it was a pretty major crack on it. So I just kind of threw that one in as a freebie. Those sold for $40. Then a Eddie Bauer, what is this? Oh, it's a blanket, a 50 by 60 inch blanket, packable. So it came in a little packet like that big for 40 bucks. Got that at the Goodwill bins. And then a lot of 3 1950s science fiction books. World at Bay, Rockets, Planet something. It's over 40 bucks. They were awesome looking. I just love the way these things looked. But so 1950s hardcover science fiction stuff is pretty cool. Some more glasses. These were the vintage Fostoria swirl green water goblet. Sold for $40. Next page. We had a Bible. This was a Blackaby. It's a leather Bible. Sold for $40. Then a generalized approach to primary hydrocarbon recovery. Sold for $42. Another 2 more of those Logitech pens. Those are the ones that are for like a touchscreen. You can write on like a Surface Pro type of thing. You can use it for that. So for 25 bucks each, so it was a $50 sale. And then look at this pillow. So I found this at the Goodwill bins. This was a Sparkles is a brand name. So if you see a Sparkles pillow, this one had rhinestones. I think I mentioned this in the video too, where one of the rhinestones, or a little, I don't know if it was a rhinestone, but that's what they called it in another listing. But it's like little black mirrored pieces. And one of them had kind of come off, and I hot glued it back in. Cleaned it up real good, and it's over $50, 16 by 16 pillow. So that was a good find right there. Goodwill bins find. And then a jacket. This one I'd had for sale for many years, because I got this one at the bin drop way back when that was still open in Lake Jackson. And so this has been several years that it had been listed. 50 bucks for a Aurora heated jacket. I even had to, when somebody offered to buy it, I was like, I said, I was messaging back and forth about price, and they're asking about measurements and all. And I was like, actually, before you buy this, let me make sure the thing works. So I plugged in the battery because, it'd been sitting for a while, and it heated up real nicely. So yeah, it did work. And then these DVDs. So I bought these thinking they were complete. I've since learned at Goodwill, the regular Goodwill, always at the bins, you're going to check to see if things are there. But at the regular Goodwill, I kind of assumed, I guess, that they would be making sure that all the CDs are present. So this is a Pimsleur Spanish, levels 1 through 4. There is a missing CD, so 55 bucks. And I took an offer on that one. I probably could have gotten more, but, $55 is pretty good. This was then a Christopher Radko decoration. This one I had for a few years as well. I thought this would sell earlier. Every Christmas I keep expecting to sell it. finally did sell for $60. And then I had this 1956 Napco Angel of the Month figure. This was a rarer one, apparently. This one sold for $75. I got this at regular Goodwill for a few dollars. And then there's another one that I paid up for at the regular Goodwill. This was a behind-the-counter item. This 1979 Boker Tree Limited Hardware Industry Commemorative Folding Knife. I paid $20 for it. They sell pretty regularly, around $100. Mine had the box had a little bit of rip in it, so I priced mine down a little bit, and I got $80 for it. But I paid $20 into $80. That's still pretty good profit. But I knew that a lot of these had sold. I knew it'd be pretty popular, so I didn't mind paying up for that one. And here's one that I had no idea would sell, and actually it's out for quite a while. But my goodness, the Dinosaur Dumbbell Training Books. $90 for a dumbbell training book. I have no idea why, but it did, and I'm happy about it. And the next one, I am glad it sold for a lot, because I do know why, and it seems like it should have sold for a lot, and it did, which is nice sometimes. First printing, 1969, Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. $140. So that was a great Goodwill Bins find for 33 cents. Into $140. So that's a fun one. This next group is actually, I bought these from a coworker. So she brought these in, said she certainly didn't want them. I was hoping to make a little bit of money off something. I obviously gave her a good deal on it and still left a little bit of room for myself. They had a lot of mud dauber damage. They'd been in a garage somewhere, so I had to do quite a bit of cleaning. And couldn't get them 100% clean. So this was a complete set, 28 volumes of Confederate Centennial Studies. It's a limited edition out of 750 that were printed. I paid my coworker $100 for them, and I sold them for $185. If they are clean copies, you might get $220, somewhere around there for the whole set. Thought about selling them book at a time, but in the end just decided to go ahead and just lot them up, not lot them up, but keep them together as a complete set and sell it that way. And that was my big book sale of the month, and my big sale is more of those pens. So I had someone reach out to me who was a tech person at a school and asked if I would give them a deal if they bought a bunch of them. So I sold 16 of those Logitech pens for $20 a piece, which was a $320 sale. So that's it for the month. Appreciate you sticking through all the way to the end here. So this was 99 sales for $2,923.40. So even though I had a lot of sales, I still had a really good average sale price of $29.53. Very happy with that. It goes above my pretty much arbitrary and made up number of $25 that I consider to be a good sales period. So $29.53 is significantly over that. So it was a good month, is what I'm trying to tell you. And so that's where we go. Yeah. Gonna try to record a thrift haul video. So it's been a little bit of there's been two times in the last 3 that I've gone to the Goodwill Bins where they had no books at all, like no books. We went yesterday to the big one up in North Houston. No books of bins. I mean, no bins, no bins of books. So found some other interesting things, but no books at all. So even my Goodwill Bins sometimes, gets harder and harder to find books. And there's a lot of booksellers there as well. So I will be doing a haul video later this week, but back on track here. Hopefully we'll hit October next, and then after that I think I'm going to be caught up. So we'll see. Anyhow, I hope that y'all are selling the heck out of a bunch of stuff if that's what you're trying to do, and I will see you sooner rather than later. Adios.